Okay, so to answer the questions I've been getting about tracking client invoices, I thought I'd show you the simple system I still use for invoicing the clients that I still work with. I'll cover tracking income and expenses across multiple revenue streams in another video. I don't want to give you too much info all at once. Now, Monday.com. Love it because it's so simple and so customizable. It's got a bunch of templates for a whole bunch of different things, and you can make your own. Like I did with this one for the invoice tracker. It's really, really simple, but I don't like to overcomplicate things, particularly not when it comes to tracking finances because they're so important. With Monday, the free plan is enough for most people. If you don't have many clients or many things to track, then yeah, the free plan is enough. You can, even on the free plan, I believe you can add clients as guests. If you want to share a board, for example, so that they can see the progress of items, or if you're running a team, you can invite your freelancers and your clients into the same or separate boards and give them very limited permissions to view only certain things, so that your teams can't see your confidential client information and your clients can't see your conversations with freelancers that perhaps you don't want the client to see, and they can't see other client stuff, and certainly not your financials, because that's nobody's business but yours. If you do decide to sign up for their free plan or their free trial, which I think is 14 days at the moment, you can use my affiliate link below in the video description to get started for free. Okay, so here is what my Monday board looks like for client invoice tracking. As I said, it's super simple. I had one entry for each separate client in each separate billing period, and I put those into the in progress invoices group. I name each item using the same client code and date that I use for my invoice numbers. I'll get to that in a little bit. I make a fresh copy of my master invoice template here, and the link to make your own copy of that is down below in the description as well. Once I've made a copy, I add that link to the invoice link column here. That way you can easily find the right invoice and fill it in at the end of each assignment or day or whatever. I like to do this daily or every time I finish an assignment. So I tend to keep my version of this tracker open in one of my many browser tabs, and then each time I complete an assignment, or if I'm working on a flat fee project or an hourly project, at the end of each period that I finish working for that client, usually a day or half day or whatever, I hop in to this board, open the invoice and update it. That way I never ever forget to bill for anything, because it's so easy, right? If you're working for 3 or 4 clients during any given day or across a week and you don't fill your invoices in as you complete each item or each day or whatever, it's really, really easy to miss something, and you don't want to give clients extra free work. So try and get in the habit of doing this daily. It also makes sending the invoices to the clients far less traumatic and time consuming. Now, once I finalise an invoice for the period, I drop it into the outstanding invoices group down here. But you can also set an automation, which is how I generally set my boards up, because although it involves a bit of work to front load it all, once it's done forever, and it'll just keep moving. Okay, so automations are super useful. They save you a few seconds and a few clicks, and generally help make sure everything's in the right place at the right time. So to add an automation, you go to automate. You can do a custom automation, which we'll do in a minute, because they won't have what we need, but this one is fairly straightforward and they should have it. So we start searching for when status changes to something, move item to group. here. Now you just need to fill these little grayed out bits in. So in our case, status is the actual status column, and you want to set this one for when status changes to outstanding, then move item to outstanding invoices. Create the automation, and then when you change this column to outstanding, it drops down into the appropriate place. Now we can do the same thing again for when you change this status to paid. So again, we go back to automate, we just go through the same process again. When status changes to something, move item to group. And then we fill these out again, so status, this time we want to select paid and then move item to paid group. Create automation. Okay, so now your items will flow just with the touch of a button. Maybe, there you go. You can also move these in bulk. When you have multiple items, you can select them there and then change the status, even if you have 15. If they've all been paid on the same day, lucky you, you can change the status here on all of them just by selecting one, and it will move to the appropriate place. You can also click and drag things, and you can also change where they go here as well. Okay, now the last automation I set is to let me know if a client doesn't pay on time. It may not be the client's fault. Their payments could be held up in the financial networking ether, who knows. Or sometimes clients just forget they actually owe you some money. So to stop you having to constantly watch to see when they're going to be late, particularly if you're dealing with quite a few invoices, I like to just set an automation that tells me if a submitted invoice in the outstanding invoices group reaches its payment date, passes its payment date, then I get a notification to let me know that I need to follow up with the client. And again, it is super easy to set this up as an automation. Just saves me having to constantly check and watch. So we add automation. This time you'll need a custom automation because it will not have exactly what we need. So when this happens, so a date has passed, you come over here, hit this little plus, and only if status is something, then notify someone. So then we need to fill out all the grey bits again. So date payment due has passed, and and only if the status column is outstanding, then notify me. Now you'll need to type a little message in this bit to keep the system happy. It can just be as simple as item name, because that's your client code, which you'll get to know, and payment due date. You can leave yourself a little note, late invoice, follow up with client. It doesn't need to be fancy because it is just a note for yourself. You can use a similar template if you're working with, I don't know, freelancers, for example, who are late with their assignments or who have only 24 hours left to turn their item around, or 48 hours or whatever arbitrary date you set this for. You can set an automation to not only notify you, but to notify the freelancer, to tell them they've only got 24 hours left and to let you know if they need an extension, or tell them that their due date is passed and they've got, I don't know, 24 hours left to submit their item, and then they need to contact you or whatever that is. So again, it means that if you're working with, if you're working on multiple revenue streams or multiple sites, you've got lots of people doing lots of different things. You don't want to have to keep on top of them all the time. So this just lets you semi-automate that process. But so in that case, you'd maybe want to send a slightly nicer email than this. Late assignment, get it in, is perhaps not the most friendly, although we sometimes feel that way. So then once you're done with that, just hit create automation, and then anything in this column with a past due date, it will email you. It will notify you that you need to follow up with the client, but once the item has been paid, that automation won't run even though the due date has passed. If you don't include the only if the status is outstanding line on the automation, it will also send you notifications for anything in this column, even if, and it will do it every day, even if the items are like 3 years old, which would be a nightmare. So make sure you follow that automation carefully if you want to set it up. And that's essentially it for this portion of the tracker. Now, the master invoice template, again, is super simple. It covers all of your needs for whether you're billing by your bank, by Wise or PayPal or whatever else. Now, not every client will need every single thing on this filled in. If you're paying by PayPal, or if you're being paid by PayPal, obviously you won't need a lot of this stuff. And not every client will want your company and physical address. So I've created this template so that you can customize it however you need. If you're like me, I've frequently worked with clients with different payment methods and different invoicing requirements. So this template just lets me, when I first start working with a client or first start using this template, lets me customize it specifically to that client, and then I can just rename my copy as master invoice template for XYZ client. Now, one of the most critical things on your invoice is your invoice number. I alluded to this before when I was talking about naming the lines in your tracker. Now, I use my client code is, I mean, it's not rocket science. It's like, in this example, if I was my own client and obviously my site is called How to Build Your Freedom, so I would abbreviate that to BYF, and then I would do the year and then the month. This is awesome for tax time, and it also ensures if you get in the habit of every time you set one of these up for each client, you put this in. Obviously, each time you set up a new invoice for the same client, you'll just be changing this number, and then once a year you'll be changing this number. It just ensures that at tax time you have unique invoice identifiers, and also I've encountered clients that won't pay duplicate invoice numbers within their own systems. So this is super custom to you, and is something that you should get in the habit of applying to all of your invoices, whether you use this template or not. Obviously, the date you send the invoice and the date you require payment, that needs to change every month or every billing period. I don't know how often you bill. So now the description, the line items, if you're working at a flat fee or a retainer or hourly, I would, at the end of each day or at the end of each period, depending on exactly how you work, probably per day to be fair, or per project, depends how you've got things set up with your client. So you fill in the broader description and then you break it down here. So, I don't know, say I'd done a day's worth of content management. Down here, I would give more detail. I mean, you don't need to go into the nitty gritty. You know, you sent 5 emails and you looked at 1,500 keywords, but you need to do like, you need to put a bit of a breakdown here for the client. It lets the clients feel more confident that you are giving them value. They can see exactly what you're doing without having to go back and forth and asking you for more information and all of that stuff. So just do it up front. Then you're less likely to get any comeback, and you're more likely to be paid on time. So I would do, I don't know, 4 article outlines, 2 hours of content strategy. Maybe that's what I did that day, but you get the idea. So then pop your rate down in here, how many hours you spent on that particular day or period, and then the total dollar value for that service. Now, if that's all you did because you only got 10 hours a month and you did all of the work and it's all listed in this one, then you just copy this total into this box here, and that's it. But if you worked on multiple days or multiple projects, or you work by the assignment, then you could have 100 of these lines, and then you put the total of all of them into this box when you're finished. I actually do this as I go along. So if I'm working on if I was working on a per article assignment, for example, or per word, for each article I complete, I would fill in this whole thing, and then I would add this total to this total, so I don't have to do 100 lines at the end of the month. Now, I use Google Docs because it's so easy to access from anywhere, and once I'm done with the billing period, I can easily turn the doc into a PDF to email to the client, and I can upload the file to the Monday board. So I have all the PDFs in one place, ready for tax time, or if any queries or issues pop up at any point during the year. I've also met any number of clients that will not accept an invoice unless it's in PDF form. So once you're done with your invoice, please check it, because it's easy to forget. If you don't do it right at the start when you open the invoice, if you don't change this, it's really easy to forget. So just give everything a once over. Make sure you've got everything that the client needs in there. Lots of accounting departments are super strict about what they want to see on their invoices, and any mistakes will result in a delay in your payment. So let's avoid that and get the money in your account when it's due. So you've had a look at this. You've added up this column again just to make sure that you haven't forgotten to add an entry to this, because again, you don't want to be working for free, you don't want to be underbilling. So then once you are happy that this is exactly what the client needs, you just go to File, Download, PDF. Once that's downloaded, come over here and attach the file in this invoice PDF column, as well as emailing it to the client. Do it at the same time. If you put it off and do it later, you'll end up with trying to sort out like 100 invoices come tax time. So it's just much easier just to dump it straight in here. I generally name the invoice with the client code and month, unless the client has a specific file naming format. Some of them do, and I make sure that this, just for ease, is the same as the invoice number for each billing period. So and then I tag on the month, just so it's easier for my eyes. And then hopefully and then obviously from this point you would switch it to outstanding, and then hopefully the client pays in a timely fashion and you can mark it as paid. And that's really it. The one thing I would say is get in the habit of filling in your invoices every day, and then schedule some time at the day after each billing period ends. Schedule some time in your calendar, even if it's just an hour, to send out all of your invoices to your clients for that billing period. Get it done. It's not really fair on you or the client to wait for 3 months and then send them a whacking great invoice when they were actually expecting a much smaller invoice each month. So make sure you do that. And plus, it's difficult to keep track of your own finances properly if you're not sending out invoices on schedule. You don't want to sour your relationship with a client. You want to keep those clients. Most of us want to keep those clients for years if we can, even while we're building our own passive revenue streams. So make sure you just schedule it in your calendar. It's an hour or maybe 2 hours. And if you've been keeping up with this system throughout the month, then it takes minimal time. It's no headache, it's no fuss. Check out our Facebook group, sign up to our list. All the links are in the descriptions below, and thanks for watching.